The differences in the games have been pretty small.
Well, we'll see what happens here in the draft. We've got Cogmore banned away first by OpTic and Oriana, actually for FlyQuest, so taking that one away from Power of Evil. Yeah, of course, we'll stick to what he likes, whether you like it or not.
Power of Evil, we know what he likes. The Nashor's Tooth, Oriana. Not going to be the case here. So maybe he'll just have to delve into the rest of the trio of mid laners we've seen everybody else do. Not going to be Azir though. Meanwhile, Kog'Maw, the pretty much premier AD carry at the moment, as we said, skills so insanely well off of Rageblade. Pretty much from ban, and not going to be the case here. Ballista though, definitely available and could have some more early game oriented plays. Wild Turtle definitely known for that champion.
Yep, certainly a pick he likes to play as Gangplank is the ban there for OpTic. Joining with that Rise, Azir was the second ban for FlyQuest, and Zoe will be the final one, taking that one away from PoE.
Ooh. Quickly a little shout out there to Licorice from the last game with the Camille hover maybe, but Ezreal will be the one locked in. Arrow had a very impressive Ezreal game. This guy's individual performance has definitely been up to par. A lot of people questioning after the way he ended last year, if it was going to come back, that well-rounded, is going to be in fighting shape, and he definitely has been. So good early pick here with popularity of Kleptomancy Ezreal still thriving.
And there's a Gnar actually for FlyQuest. We'll see what they want to take as their next pick. It is Varus actually for Turtle, so certainly taking an aggressive stance here in the 2v2.
Yeah, I definitely have seen a lot of Varus into the Ezreal as far as the wave control and the early lane control, trying to get there. Also a Rageblade user, one of the better ones, aside from Kog'Maw, who is the premier. But we've seen it strong early game into a strong mid game. Meanwhile, there's been a lot of pick oriented combos with Lemonation whenever he's in a bottom lane, Morgana and the likes there. So very curious to see how OpTic would round out this bottom lane, because they can play for lane, even with the Ezreal, who we often talk about can be left alone. They've also been really poke heavy before, so a couple of different looks, and they don't give away too much. Meanwhile, you talked about Power of Evil.
Does what he likes.
His favorites.
Yeah, there's Syndra, actually Tom Kench also joining in, so very defensive-minded bot lane there, but protecting Arrow, who has been such a good-looking carry, despite the record OpTic currently shows. Is a nice pick here, and I think one of the best melee supports currently in the metagame.
Yeah, and everyone always thinks the defensive, eating someone out of a stun or something like that, which is, Devour is probably the most infuriating part of the kit. However, in combination with Ezreal, there are a lot of offensive capabilities with Tom Kench's ultimate. Post level 6, Lemonation can actually, create some very big map movements. It's not global, but it's kind of semi-global, we'll call it, as far as a third of the map you can try and traverse there and come up with some big tempo plays, basically, with Tom Kench to try and turn the tides.
Well, 2 games and 2 Taliyah games, interestingly, as Kane counterpicks the Syndra with Taliyah. Usually that's the other way around, kind of cast back to the metagame of last year, but we'll continue on as the bans continue. Rengar banned by FlyQuest, keeping Acadian off his aggressive jungler, and OpTic taking away Zac, so keeping Anda off the tanks.
Yeah, I mean, those two seem pretty clearly associated with the players. I don't know if OpTic would actually continue with Rengar picks, though, because Acadian was talking about, some of the difficulties now with everybody running so many tanks, and the later game stages where Rengars have difficulty getting in. I do, however, really like the targeted Anda ban here with the Zac. He's gone back to the champion, and it has been a very big playmaker for the team, so excited to see what he gets pushed down to, actually, as far as the tier list.
Yeah, on band away, there's Sejuani also joining in as another tank jungler. And what do FlyQuest want as their first pick here in Phase 2? It's probably Jarvan.
Ban 2 tanks. They're going to pick another one who can build pretty much full tank here. Options for Jarvan. And Jarvan also just happens to synergize very well with Gnar. You can create more terrain with either Jarvan or Taliyah for him to Gnar people into. So basically there'll be walls all over the place for him to land stuns into. Even if they don't fight in the jungle or anything, FlyQuest can create their own jungle.
Well, we'll see how that one works out. I mean, I would love to see a long range Taliyah wall into an Gnar ultimate, but I haven't seen that one too often, as looks like Maokai throwing all the way back here, and there's Kha'Zix to round it out for Acadian. What was it?
Right.
I think we've seen Maokai now relatively recently, but certainly not what a lot of the top laners have been playing.
I'm actually a very huge fan of Maokai Kha'Zix's combos. As a jungler, you know, if you're going with one of these DPS junglers who has a lot of early threat, any laner that can lane, you know, fairly well like Maokai and has the amount of crowd control to just set up a gank for you and hold them in place, Kha'Zix can actually bring the damage himself and look for some kills there. You know, combo on Dinar in the mini form, choose the engages. Maokai's very easy to point and click, so that's a possibility for them. They as well can use the Lemonation Tom Kench to try and bring that Kha'Zix in for some, you know, catching isolated people off guard and really turning the numbers and using that map positioning in their favor.
There's actually last pick Lulu for FlyQuest with really only on band assist of what we've seen. Kind of interesting to see Stunt go to a range support. Lulu, I think stock's rising a little bit on the champion, but usually don't see too many departures from the melee supports.
Yeah, I really like her into Kha'Zix because one of the most frustrating things is getting polymorphed as soon as you jump in. You can't reactivate your ult to go invisible again. Usually any team will be able to burst you down because you're very squishy if she can get that off onto you. So Lulu will not only be looking for her ultimates to get knockups to counter engagements, but also polymorphing one of those melee assassins is one of the best feelings for the Lulu player, at least.
And one of the worst feelings for the Kha'Zix player.
Well,
that's for sure. Well, we'll see how this one shakes out. Game 3, OpTic looking for their first win. FlyQuest. Maybe a surprising 2-1 for a lot of people as OpTic fans are hype. Moving into this one again. Come so close, but unfortunately, especially in the best of one world, once more, close is not enough.
Yeah,
push you up into the standings. So could be here against FlyQuest, or FlyQuest can continue, I would say, an underrated run of form here and finish their weekend 3-1 right towards the top of the standing.
You can be close in a 60-minute game, Pastry, but in the end, it doesn't even matter if you don't kill the Nexus. All right, fanning out. Defensive line of scrimmage, basically. See this pretty often. Junglers actually spot each other, so a little bit of a dance move there. See if they get any sort of, you know, deeper wards to try and find the starts and kind of elaborate on their early jungle paths.
Zig is doing a poor job of hiding briefly. Was out of the brush, but I don't think he got spotted just yet. Once he gets, might get some saplings down if he wants to investigate. Anda finds Acadian though. Flags straight on top of the head. That has to be quite painful.
I mean, it does.
It does damage.
Decent amount of damage for level 1 ability there. People underestimate there. I always think about when the flag goes down, you could get the extra attack speed boosts, but you know, it's got that flat 60 magic damage. Nothing to scoff at early game. It's not like Jarvan builds the AP or anything, but
this could be the game, Kobe. Probably not. It's probably not the game.
Set the stage, Pastry, for the flag dropping, AP building Lichbane Jarvan.
Well, you've got me excited now, but we'll have to see how it develops. Lucio on the bot side for OpTic. Nice and easy there with Ezreal and Tom Kench. Standard smiteless stuff here as Acadian dings 2, and looks like Anda has similar treatment by his bot lane. Acadian though going to stop by the Raptors, and Anda going to stop by his small camp on the same side. So farm time ahoy, at least for these first few minutes.
Ahoy. Both junglers, double camps on the bottom side, and kind of what we were alluding to in Champion Select, they both have the top lane matchup in mind. Point and click from Maokai could spell bad things for Gnar, but if left alone, you know, from Anda's perspective on the Jarvan, he kind of wants to allow Gnar some alone time up there to handle himself. As long as the extra damage from the Kha'Zix is not introduced into this little top lane habitat, and they'll naturally have the Gnar taking away some control.
Yep, Anda actually top side right now. Katie went back down to Frog and Flame. Good little chunk there from the wallop in onto Zig. Got a quick check through the runes. Total's the only one really doing something a little out there. We've seen a lot more unsealed spellbook in bot lane, but we'll hold that thought as Anda not entertaining a dive just yet.
Yeah.
Instead, we'll take the grump and get some vision down.
Again, I see this much more of jungler screening, right? He wants to make sure that Acadian's not getting in there for one of those combos. So taking the time to counter jungle, you know, maybe threatening a bit here for the Maokai as it gets pushed under his turret, but it's not the type of play you want to do to dive of Maokai early, unless the Gnar was getting a lot of chip damage early, and you know, the Maokai was overextending and getting hit with boomerangs. Whoops, the daisy.
Not quite there on the ward, unfortunately, for Arcadian, although it's much further up near the Grump camp. I kind of like that placement, actually, from under. Hiding away from that common ward spot, as the control ward does miss.
Yep, misses the bush and misses the ward. Not the biggest
The ill-fated
deals.
double miss on the whole control ward.
Zoning going on here down in the bottom side, though. It's Elimination. Bodies out the FlyQuest duo lane. Starts to zone them. Decent amount of CS lead there. Kind of exacerbating the issue, though. A lot of them should be able to get picked up. They didn't lose too many of them yet. They're still marching towards the turret.
Flame, though, showing out. Looks like a dematerializer from Zig. Did spot that one. He wanted to make sure he can clear the waves out relatively well. Arcadian looking to try and steal back the Grump. He lost to Under, but Under with a smite. Lemonation with the roam up, but Tongue, oh, gonna eat it, hand it over. Very slick stuff. As Arcadian will end up with that Grump back and even that camper.
Yeah, he knows his way around the Grump, and not gonna let Arcadian get that experience, or not gonna wait and get that experience. The control ward actually went down as well, just in case of some possible bottom lane plays, and now Arcadian's actually got himself into a very good position onto, and as far as mid laners being recalled here for FlyQuest, King was back in base. There was an option there for Power of Evil to move up, but didn't take it and just finished up with the CS, so no big damage traded there.
Yep, Under kind of knew what was happening, so just flag drags back. Electrocute did proc for Arcadian, but Under now back to clear those walls, and third one stun. Back to business here with the CS, even getting aggressive in this double range lane versus that melee support, which I think is mostly what you'd expect in an even situation.
Gonna start pushing back. Guardian and Targon's definitely helping out. You can see there a couple of gold bags found from Klepto, immediately consumed by Arrow. And on the bottom side, we're gonna have another fight. There's a smite on one side and no smite for Arcadian, so it's not a very fair fight.
Nope, not at all, but Under with a nice move, stealing away the majority of that camp as he smites down the big target. Flame, I mean, like you said, all this information that Under is gathering is just letting Flame be aggressive, gonna get cancel that recall, delay Arcadian even longer. Flame can just play up with a reckless abandon. 10 CS up already as Zig is forced back.
Ooh, he also just interrupted a Zig recall there under turrets. I believe he took one tower shot for it. Definitely worth to delay, because you lose out on maybe another minion or two as far as the melee's there. And see if the tower shot might grab one more. These are the small, incremental little plays, though, that do start to stack up, right? When they're not big kills going on and not big vision power plays going early to set up those sorts of movements, these little lane mechanics really do go a long way in these matchups. It is really all about controlling those minions and getting the teleport timers and advantages from these 1 versus 1 matchups, because Gnar now, level 6, Flame is actually going to be able to get off his first purchase here probably, as Acadian actually goes to answer and jumps over without even seeing the Gnar fully recall, but does get some of the small ones here. Still behind that 1 level.
Oh no, oh, it's a tragedy. And oh, that Q went very
Who hit
high.
me?
Lashing out into the darkness.
There's a couple of $10 bills.
Well, looks like a TV back in from Flame, has his fate completed and an extra Ruby Crystal, so looking good there. PoE playing pretty actively to the left side of the map, I think, trying to get topside and threaten a roam onto Flame, given all of the information research Under has done. Turtle also back with his TP. As Unsealed Spellbook is a fun one.
Yeah, and I mean, Power of Evil, you're talking about, he can even look to threaten Keen in his own lane now that he is post-level 6, the Syndra ultimate is available. That's why Keen has picked up a very early Null Magic Mantle in this matchup. You talked in Champion Select Pastry about how Syndra picked into Taliyah quite often in the past, and it was for just killing her before she roamed.
Yep.
No, but trying to get that stun down, unleash the power. Keen has his eye on it, though, with his early magic resist.
Yep, looks like Threat's coming right up, although both mid lane is just farming it out for now. Quite a lot of gold built up. Keen, though, going to take a recall, should speed back to lane. PoE probably do something similar soon, although Keen calls next to Elia and actually hangs out for a little while longer. Acadian, though, will keep tracking where he's going, taking that red buff. Might look back down here towards the bottom side of the map as Arrow continues to play up a little more. despite Turtle having, I guess not really a CS lead given that this wave is coming in. But again, trying to play aggressive. Late on the devour there for Lemon, but no proc on the Blighted Quiver there for Turtle. Airy still doing work though for Stunt.
Yeah. Actually, post level 6 too, there definitely is a possibility for a bigger play from Acadian. Kha'Zix feels so good once you get that level 6 and immediately can evolve your ultimate. The options for ganking are almost unlimited, as you can walk through a brush in any lane, mid, top, or bottom. Let's take a look at this face check first.
Underload actually wards first. Keen has priority, so he's able to come down. And neither mid laner has recalled yet. So again, continuing to do a great job tracking Acadian, and at least this same story, Flame looking for the solo something, but doesn't quite get it. Slams him for a bit of harass and maybe realizes, that's too much.
Yeah, look at that though. He is slowly wearing away at this Maokai, even with the biscuit delivery coming in, minion dematerializer, you know, all those sort of inspiration quirk methods used to help out with the laning of Maokai. Still getting bullied by this Gnar, who has got the alone time. Ooh, nice Mystic shot there on the Turtle at the end for a little bit of extra damage from Arrow. As we said, he's been so accurate with his champion this year. Quite a good start for him. And with the push up there, FlyQuest going to be able to get a very big prize, honestly. You know, mid lane is shoved in. Keen getting the presence there with Taliyah. Bottom lane also roaming up, and that is a very valuable early Drake.
Yeah, we've had a lot of Cloud Drake first in our games today, Kobe, so Inferno prompting the action much faster as FlyQuest take their first Drake under 10 minutes. PoE was also recalling, so part of the reason they had all that space good work by the mid laner and jungler of FlyQuest. And of course, Taliyah's now going back. Pretty equal in that mid lane. Again, Keen just trying to get out, pressure those lanes, and stay safe. Those Merc Treads now finished.
Here we go. Maybe we'll see this. You can just reactivate your ult. Yep. And then
Stunt not there, but still good from Acadian. Ulti there from Keen. Burns the heal, does keep himself safe. PoE even flashing to try and get that kill.
Yeah, so here's what I would say for this game. What you usually do, try and tell your laner not to move any differently at all until you actually open up. Because Keen had some pretty good reactions there. He immediately, as soon as Power Evil moved an inch up, started to respect it and back up. Here we go, Lemonation does find himself a Pixie.
Yep, getting eaten, but back towards the blast cone for safety.
But revisiting that attempted gank, I would convey to the laner, don't move at all, because Kha'Zix can just go through that brush, then reactivate your ultimate, and walk up to auto and save your leap even, so you don't even reveal yourself. You can get an auto Q before the enemy laner even has time to react, and usually they'll waste their flash at that point, rather than only getting the heal by kind of running at them and charging like that. Because you also get the slow from your auto, and that allows your laner to catch up and stuff. But it's a very minor thing. And now Acadian still has ult available to use, having just used his leap instead. So it's a trade-off.
Too hasty though, I think. Keen survives. Kind of losing the minimum there in that spot. PoE pushing up though as Keen returns after the attempted gank. But it'll also dodging what he can. Arrow needing to play very well in this lane despite the, let's say, somewhat disadvantageous 2v2 matchup. Ezreal very strong. Mystic damage. Mystic shot base damage still good here on this patch. And back to the top lane where Zig is having a real tough time. It's a very annoying Gnar.
Yep. Just trying to AoE the minion waves down. Used all his dematerializers. And we have our first bit of a roam from Keen. You know, it is in combination with, and on the jungler, moving over through, getting vision in the red quadrant of OpTic's jungle. It will be annoying for Acadian to try and deal with. And it kind of really adds to that safety of Wild Turtle and Stunt trying to push, use that double range matchup.
Wanda taking out Scuttle Crab as well, despite the gold lead being dead even between the two teams. Have to remember, Fly did get that first Infernal. Acadian up to it again. Shoves back is good, and Keen forced the flash this time. Yeah,
they get the flash this time. Acadian did use his ult this time as well. Oh, bottom lane actually another trade, and they've got the root.
Ult by Lemon, looking to try and take down the Time Turtle. Like, uh-oh, I don't like this exhaust at all. Good slap, 8 flash for the Devour there by Lemon, but exhaust countered there onto Arrow. Total forced to flash away. Kha'Zix, he's coming and stun slow too.
Yeah, they see the pings on the Acadian.
It's a very speedy Acadian. Moby Boots ready. First blood, good to go. And just a spike. That's not enough for a kill.
Yeah. What do we say about getting polymorphed?
Feels bad, man.
If you get polymorphed under the turret, that is rough. So he didn't want to go for the tower dive there. It was very close, but now they can force him off the turret, take the more secure damage on turret.
Ooh. Response team was there. Under not quite nailing the knock-up, though, onto the Kha'Zix. But good turret damage here after that pressure from the jungler. OpTic's bot lane finding a bit more traction. And Turtle's TP's coming back up, but he doesn't have it yet. So might stick around and get greedy. Katie on the red buff. Don't think Turtle will be around long enough for a punish, but you do never know.
Yeah, back over onto a ward as well. And that's the value of putting all those wards on camps. Now they will be able to track Acadian. After probably a back, even though he's got Moby Boots here with the early Moby Boots Kha'Zix. Trying to get around the map. We'll see if he's able to actually pull off any of those kills, because they have blown the flash onto Keen now, so they do have that cooldown timer. And obviously your ultimate is going to be a lot shorter, but here comes that Tom Kench.
Oh, Flame. It was all a ruse. The ultimate still chasing. Does finally ruin him at the very end after the flash. Gnar is not enough to protect him. First blood over to Arrow.
Meanwhile, since everybody went topside with the Tom Kench ultimate, Wild Turtle trying to take down the turret. Pretty good move from OpTic, I have to say, though, because their top turret had very limited time left. Their bottom turret was already getting whittled down, so they made a power play, you know? Try and get the bonus first blood gold, even though they're not going to be able to get a first tower gold. And FlyQuest was probably going to get it anyway. They get something out for themselves. They trade a little bit of that and switch up the lane matchup.
They trade turrets as well, so it's not like they get nothing after FlyQuest collect that extra gold. So a bit of bonus gold all around. As we watch this one again. Flame, he tried so hard to get away.
I mean, it was such a good kind of setup here from Zig. This was a good bait where it wasn't that obvious to Flame, even though the bottom lane could have told him that their bottom lane had recalled, right? And this is a Tom Kench bottom lane. We said, chip select, you have to worry about the ultimate and the offensive plays, you know, trying to move around the map at the mid-game, just like that. So maybe a little bit better communication from FlyQuest could have told Flame that the bottom lane possibly would be rotating up top side, and that's kind of an expected Tom Kench play sometimes, but it isn't there. OpTic capitalized, and the gold's still very much even with the extra Infernal Drake currently in the pocket of FlyQuest and another one on the field.
Yeah, they actually tried to rush it down as the Rift Turtle went over to OpTic, but Spawns didn't quite line up. Turtle has returned. Now Teleportless has a heal and a Rage Blade. There's potential Drake take, but OpTic was going to fight for this one. They'll smite down the Scuttle Crab and give themselves some vision advantage. And with that Rift Tower especially, Fly going to have to make some very quick decisions here.
Yeah, and they're looking like they want to fight it. With the amount of effort they're putting into clearing out that vision, they actually have a lot of setup behind the Dragon Pit. And both your teleports are ready, Pastry, from top lane.
Ready to go, but Fly don't have enough. As Acadian going to move up. Stunt looks like a juicy target for that Kha'Zix. The Arrow just poking around, has his gauntlet finished and a mana mune, so also quite strong as Turtle's dealing with the waves there in bot side. Dragon started by OpTic here. Turtle might walk the wrong way, but hits the Scry's wound, gets good vision here. Drake 50% health, TP in.
There we go, Turtle lands the root.
Ultimate elimination, War doesn't quite cut them off, and Stunt takes a big chunk of damage. Drake goes over to OpTic. Can they get out safely? Nature's Grasp there from Zig is under. Force sees the stasis and flash out of the way. Wild growth there by Stun to protect their jungler. Zig is low. Flame will get the kills. He moves into the play, but the rest of Fly a little too low. Lemon pops that grey health as Acadian looks for the assassination. Oh, Stun for one. Looking for Turtle for the next one, but he's now invisible, trying to run out of the way. Pops the stopwatch after the leap, and that's a free one for Keen.
Yep, and they're still fighting down here. Keen versus Arrow, trying to dodge some skill shots.
Arrow dancing away. Turtle, offensive blast cone. The Neo flash. Turtle tries to make the big play, finds the stasis. Arrow cues him, and that's a free one on the other side.
Oh man, people have gotten very good at timing their skill shots at the end of these stopwatches because they're so prevalent, and Arrow finds himself the kill there at the end. But again, let's take a look at this smite fight because this was a fairly interesting one. As we said, FlyQuest was setting up to contest, and it really did come down to both junglers right next to the dragon looking for combos. He EQs through it, then goes for the burst onto Acadian, and Acadian, even though he's under attack, focuses on the objective and gets that combo smite. Kha'Zix I believe he also Q smited it for the combo. Then, up here, PoE lands a stun onto the back line. FlyQuest have Flame and Keen at full health, so they're chasing the low health members, but Acadian goes into the backside, gets his kill on assassination, uses his stopwatch, only to get shot down there by Keen right out of it, and then Turtle's about to do a similar thing. He blast cones over, thinking Keen is going to chase with him, but Keen is worried about the stun from PoE, which Turtle then uses his stopwatch in, but Keen doesn't move over to block the Mystic shot, which is expected to come out after that stopwatch. So a couple of maybe miscommunication between the two backline members of FlyQuest there. I think if they coordinated a little bit better, they might have changed the story from -1 kill to +1. But it's those small things in the skirmishes that are very hard to go over in the moment.
Yep, and instead we have still a very even game. Gold lead basically locked between the two sides. 3 kills apiece and 1 turret each. How very nice. As they also even have an Infernal Drake each. Well, this game's lining up well. We're through 19 minutes. Mid-turret, they're going to try and break the stalemate. Acadian with the trump card. It's Shelly.
Here she comes, and one shot. It's pretty close to one shot. Yeah.
All right, well, turret down. Rift Shard will fall soon after, but OpTic will take the turret advantage as the wall is going to try and cut a few off, but yeah, I wouldn't walk through that either.
Done down.
Trying to find something. PoE, a little trap there in the pit. Onda, ready for a Dunkaroo, finds Evil, knocked back through Keen. Obliterates him as Turtle barely misses that chain of corruption.
That was like a reverse alley-oop. Onda puts down the basket, and then Keen flips him out of it with the Taliyah seismic shove for the kill. Very nice. And a pigeonholing Power of Evil in, so there is no chance to dodge. And they're able to secure themselves 1 kill to counter, but again, turret down. Here goes Acadian.
Acadian rushing in onto Keen. Keen running out of the way.
Has his ultimate.
Under again, no dunk ready, but might pull up with an EQ instead. Protects the mid lane. Fly abandon the mid lane siege though. And Power of Evil is just back up. So that turret lead will hold here for OpTic.
All right, we're almost dead even in gold. 1-to-1 Infernal Drakes. So we're heading into this mid game, super even footing, Patient Time. And we do have possibilities for picks for both sides. You know, the Tahm Kench ultimate, trying to get someone on the side lane with one of those rotations. But as well, Kina on Taliyah, as we just saw there, can corner someone. In that case, though, it has just been, you know, these single little picks, and we haven't had the big game-turning moments or commitments from either side currently. Pretty soon, though, we will have another item completed for both AD carries, as Arrow's getting fairly close to his Blade of the Ruined King, and Wild Turtle as well.
He'll be there pretty quickly, though. It's kind of funny to look at the gold and see it so even, but I just had a quick check, and Arrow is pretty far ahead of Turtle in gold. Pretty much all thanks to Kleptomancy, where Flame still holds the lead in the 1v1 top side. So you have to think Arrow with Klepto should be faster to get those item break points, and Flame can likely still abuse his 1v1 advantage, especially given that he's going for Frozen Mallet second as well. So there's 2 pretty clear points for these teams to try and attack, but they've got a minute 20 to make up their mind, because Infernal number 3 is spawning then.
What a game to have triple Infernals.
Got sick of those Cloud Drakes.
All right, we're moving in here. A little bit of encroachment from OpTic, trying to get a lot of vision on their red quadrant here from FlyQuest, but so much of that vision should be spent around this Infernal Drake you mentioned, right? Because that is going to be the next site. It's the biggest neutral objective coming up here. I mean, Baron is on the table, but it's so early that the Baron at this point would be very dangerous. So OpTic might go for a big play and actually pick someone off around this Baron, but more likely the standing vision from FlyQuest will give them
barely gets him with a chain of corruption. Elimination forced to flash out of the way. Wall riding here for King, gonna try and cut them off. Under with a good knock up there. Lemon again, still the target, knocked back by King with the seismic shove. Turtle claims the kill. Double TP's coming in. His Flame in Megadar form as Marco lets the Nature's Grasp rip. Under needs to be protected as Turtle backs off towards it. Power of Evil. Maybe looking for another stun. It's only the 1 kill though.
Yeah, which one's gonna get the first pick? FlyQuest started out. Wild Turtle with the Varus ultimate. He did use both summoners, and now the Infernal Drake coming up. Great timing for FlyQuest here. OpTic, they can use Lemonation's Tahm Kench ultimate to get here, and the respawn timers this early are very low, so OpTic still can think about contesting this one.
Under's also really low, but his Warmogs is finally ticking in. FlyQuest will have a brief 5v4 lead, although Lemon is back up and running towards the objective. Looks like OpTic do want to fight again.
Yep. It looks like Lemon uses his ultimate, joins the party. Drake's still at 4,000.
Ooh, good stun. PoE finds one stun for Thornt himself. PoE though, will get the kill on the stun as Anda dives into the backline with the Cataclysm. Acadian is trying to find a reset. There's a double kill for the Syndra as Anda goes down. And now finally Acadian gonna look to make the play. Zig a little too deep. Well, they're after the nose, not quite enough for Turtle. Needs to finish up these kills, but a stun from Syndra. He's gonna secure yet another one as OpTic. Pick up the delayed triple for the Syndra King. Forced to flash out as PoE wants that Quadra. Not gonna grab it, but that's a massacre.
Oh my goodness. And Zig with that flash engage, sacrificing his life for the extra kills here. OpTic now very securely will take up the prize of this Infernal Drake and go up an extra, not only a bunch of kills, but also some bonus damage for later in the game.
And 3 Infernals done. The next one is, of course, Cloud Drake Kobe. We found it. It made its way into the game.
We've run out of Infernals. You can only have 3
That is true.
of each type. And the game has exhausted itself. So now all the attention immediately will turn over to Dance Master Baron. All right, let's take another look, though. Lemon dies and gets right back here with the Tahm Kench ultimate. And he immediately is going to eat Power of Evil, devour him out of the engagement from Anda here, who was able to jump in, find the back line, pay for it with his life, and then they're like, okay, they got a pretty clean victory in that fight, but then they engage it and try and push it more here. In the end, they do trade the top laners, and they get the extra couple of kills here, as Wild Turtle also goes down. But man, what a scattered little fight they did have in the jungle. OpTic feeling very confident now. Even though they are down in gold slightly, technically, I guess, a few hundred. A few hundred doesn't mean everything. It doesn't mean anything, actually. It's much more about the gold placement and the extra prize of the Infernal Drake.
Oh, still up. Not quite as hard as King. Just got shut down. Nice stun from PoE. Sets that up. Court splitting. Always a tough time. And this is kind of what you were talking about. Yes, we can point to Flame and Keen having great side lane pressure, but Acadian is so good at assisting with those pickups and just picking off the people trying to split push you.
All right, vision has been set up. OpTic going for the bait around Baron. They get a little bit of damage on the Flame.
Aggressive Arrow, making another there for Flame, gets some help for himself, but Arrow dishing out the deeps with 3 items now completed. Blade of the Ruined King hurting the Flame, who's really just built health as far as total defenses go. Has not found his way into a real tank item just yet. Again, great side lane pressure 1v1 versus the Maokai, but OpTic picking up the pace of this game.
Yep, Acadian wants a piece of Anda, and he's gonna get it.
Anda wants to go in. Oh, he traps 2, but that might not be it. Smite onto the red buff for a bit of extra help. Anda low. As the ult's not enough for the help from Lulu's shield. True Shot Mirage won't find it. Power of Evil getting low. Exhausted. Goes down to Keen. As Acadian picks off Anda, so a 1-for-1 trade mid laner for jungler.
All right, we've got blood spilled on both sides. In the end, though, map control is on OpTic. And they've got Tahm Kench taking up the Baron, DPS from Ezreal, as well as a rotation here from the rest of the squad.
Jungle control as well. Acadian was left alive, so Stun is going to check, but he might check too late. Flame ready to go over the wall. He's not quite mega just yet. Are they going to make a hero's play? Try and get the Baron. They cannot steal it. Acadian with the smite, and OpTic pick up the first real lead of this game.
Yeah, that was a big skirmish for themselves. Now they've got the Baron to push with, break down the rest of these turrets. Take another look at how it happened. Kha'Zix loves these closely packed rushes. Walks right up to Anda to start it out, and he keeps Lemonation in the red buff bush right next to him. They're completely well aware that the re-engagement will be stifled there by the Devour. Then Acadian loops back around, keeps his eye on the bottom of the screen there, you can see, and finds the kill. He finishes the job, assassinates Anda, and that allows them to have that jungler advantage. There's no smite on the enemy side. Boom, Baron goes over.
Well, gold lead's still not good for OpTic, up 1,000, but that will change quickly if they can knock down more turrets. Fly do actually have a brief turret leader right now. Looks like they've taken down the outer ring, but OpTic should answer soon in bot lane. PoE's getting that started, and of course, breaking towards those inhibitors is where you want to start. Still early into this game, which has been a close affair. But like I said, OpTic with a real chance to open up some space in this game.
Yeah, they definitely have control at the moment. We've got some defensive projectiles coming out here to try and screen the way as they push in both waves. Arrow's going to go Baron buff the mid lane. It does speed them up, so you can rush them to the turret a little bit quicker. And they have the ability, again, Abyssal Voyage can move this DPS over to the bottom side if FlyQuest went for an engage. So a lot of options created.
There's the engage onto the global elimination, force the blast out of the way. They're going to keep chasing him down. Wild Turtle with a good chunk of damage. Redemption looking for a potential counter-attack by OpTic, but Elimination stays alive. Tanky enough.
And they don't lose control of the waves either. OpTic get right back to both mid and bottom minion waves, buffing them up once again and re-sieging on the turrets.
Demolish helping out. There's a big chunk out, and there's a tier 2 felled. OpTic already cleaned out that outer on that to start off that push. Turtle again, 3 items looking good, defending, but wasn't enough to pierce through the frog.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Arrow also, even though it's such a small little purchase there of the Last Whisper, it's money well spent at this stage of the game. Incredible value, considering...
Gank on a flame. Ooh, that stun just short. The spear. Not able to tag the little mini Nah. The flame will get away, but again, the spirit of that play is great from OpTic. You see your advantages, you use your global offensively, and try and take even more with this Baron.
Yeah, they've been able to move up their ward lines. And this finally feels like the OpTic game where they have the control to actually finish it out. Here we go, they're on the flame.
Flame got slowed, forced a flash. Blade of the Ruin King there from Arrow, just shifting forward into him. That will mean another turret goes down. FlyQuest a little scattered on this defense. Sure, they have had some pretty good-looking comebacks already early on into the season, but looking a little sloppy as OpTic assault them from all sides.
Yeah, OpTic don't look like they want to let this one slip through their fingers. Complete ward coverage all over both quadrants of the jungle. They demolished most of the defenses here as far as turrets go for FlyQuest. And now they can easily move back out to this dragon. I don't think FlyQuest should even risk, moving up for the vision. It's very risky to go face check right now. Stunt is getting in there to get a couple of scattered wards, but they're just going to be instantly cleared out here. And OpTic should be able to claim this objective with very little effort, and then kind of return to the slow, strangling game where they can keep FlyQuest pent up inside their own base and slowly starve out the autonomy, make the rotations difficult to move between lanes.
Yep, Cloud Drake picked up OpTic 3 Drakes to 1, including that 1 Infernal advantage. Elder Dragon will be next. So OpTic have kind of another thing in their sights to try and split the map with and push their advantage even further. Baron buff though has one off. A decent Baron power play. Didn't quite open up the game nearly as much as they might have liked, but still holding 3,000-4,000 gold ahead. FlyQuest still trying to defend their turrets.
Yeah, we have a while to go here. Red buff is about to spawn, so they could grab that one first. Never mind,
Power
do
of
not.
Evil almost takes out the dual aim with one rotation of spells. Turtle and Stun taking damage from the death cap completed Syndra. That is an aggressive Syndra build.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely burst damage all over the place here on OpTic. And this is something that we haven't seen a tremendous amount of, with the prevalence of sustained damage and tanking, defensive compositions building around the 80 carries. A Kha'Zix plus a Syndra definitely have one-shot potential, and you can see it in action.
Especially Ghostblade, Duskblade, Kha'Zix. I do like kind of the speed that OpTic are playing with. And again, just kind of doing something themselves. They're playing a tank, not that common in the top lane. Carry style jungler, a signature pick for Power of Evil that is much more early and mid-game focused. Like OpTic know that, the best way to pick up wins early is to do what they know best. And as far as we know from what we've seen historically from the players on their lineup, this is kind of a nice switch to me. Trying to pick up their first win here and move themselves further up in those standings. FlyQuest again, still more than within touching distance of this game, but gonna have to weather quite a lot with just how powerful OpTic is at this current point.
Yeah, I think it will be, again, some sort of creative play with one of the terrain creating champions and a Mega Gnar from Flame. If FlyQuest want to get back in this, they're going to have to create their own advantage by, singling out someone from OpTic, catching someone out of position with their mobility. And then, Varus ultimate or engagement from Jarvan or something to try and lock someone down while they can pick them apart. But right now, not going to happen. OpTic are grouping right back up. Not going to let anyone isolate.
Turtle's flash ults have been good on Varus. And of course, with some reduced summon spell cooldown, can do it even more often. Turtle looking, but just poking in onto Zig. Knows that that's not a good target for potential pickoff.
So it does look like FlyQuest are gaining position on the minion wave, but OpTic are gaining position on Baron, which is 23 seconds away. And as long as they clear out the minions, even if FlyQuest are the ones standing in that mid lane, or were, OpTic can pull right back to the Baron and force them to come into the Fog of War.
Again, OpTic just sticking together. Oh, King trying to cut him off, but Acadian's found King already. Isolates him and takes him down. Under drives straight in, but he's down to Arrow. Just took too much damage on the entry. Turtle, Wild Growth up, gonna try and pick up Power of Evil. Power of Evil just destroys him with the unleashed power. Lemonation on the chase, has Zig there as well, forcing Stun to flash away. That was clean.
That was clean. That's going to be a Baron for OpTic. They took out 3 members, including the jungler, so quickly from that side swipe here on the mid lane. And you have to give props to Acadian. Playing a Kha'Zix in competitive and against, comps that have multiple tanks like this and a Lulu, it is definitely difficult to find your openings to get not only an isolated target, but an isolated primary target of Keen. He finds the mid laner here on the outside. You can see Acadian, they have full vision control, and Keen out here is isolated by himself on Talia. Boom, Acadian shows up. He did a good job of chaining his ultimate activation right after the Rush passive. So he never was seen, gets right in after the primary target, completely demolishes the fight. That means, in the end, Turtle trying to flash and get the last auto onto Power of Evil. In the end, it was still going to be an 0-1 fight for OpTic, but they just won it that much harder.
Yeah, and still going strong as well. Baron buff up for pretty much the full duration on this seed. Power of Evil going to drag the blue buff over, gets that for himself. Now level 18 with a finished Rylai's to add to that build. I mean, the carries are not safe here for FlyQuest under this card. If they eat a stun, it's going to be all the Lulu cooldowns in the world to try and save Mizanda. Dives in, massive stun from PoE. Gets the others, and Mizanda just can't do anything. Too much damage on the OpTic side.
Yeah, FlyQuest feel like they cannot get a punch off in this game as OpTic continuing to steamroll ahead. Mid lane turret now going down.
Steamroll keeps rolling. Arrow poking onto Turtle, moving these minions up, pressuring this second inhibitor turret. OpTic looking for a double play here as Lemonation steps forward toward Flame. Power of Evil looks for the stun, will not land it, but Inhib 1 is down. Inhib turret 2 falls about at the same time. And now that second Inhib is gonna fall. In fact, OpTic might go for the throat here under 15 seconds till he's back.
Most definitely. OpTic here with Baron buff, making the push.
Nature's grabs from Zig, cuts off a couple there with the Weaver's Wall. Kane though, not quite enough. Nexus turret down, Flame forced to hop away. OpTic can see it. They've had too many long games, too many losses, Kobe. Gonna try and end it all here, but Under's back.
Yeah, this has been some controlled victory from OpTic. They sniped down Flame. He's got to go back to the fountain, and they're going to complete the outer ring. Another inhibitor about to fall.
Enough time to keep the push going. Baron's still up for a while. They might just take the fight and take the game. Inhib down, Under forced away with the flag and drag. They have a minute 20. They will wait for these minions. No, OpTic a little too scared of just throwing it all away.
They do have Baron for another minute. They should easily be able to retract and grab the Elder Dragon here, but you're right, there was an option of staying there and just continuing out to clear out 2 more minion waves and utilize that to try and end, but this one takes all options off the table. You said it yourself, they're tired of having any sort of late game shenanigans where a game will slip through their fingers, and this one is going to be by the books, remove all options, as now they'll return to the base with double lines of super minions heading in and the extra Elder Dragon buff on top of them. Remember, this is a double Infernal Cloud Drake Elder Dragon buff.
Well, just spend all that gold as well. We'll see just how much in 30 seconds with the Baron power play as the Baron buff is wear off before this next push can happen, but Elder Dragon will be ready. They spent so much money in that last exchange as Power of Evil and Arrow a full build. As PoE collects another blue buff for himself. This will be a...
Acadian wants a piece!
Okay. I was going to talk about the defense, but now 5v4 as Acadian just slaps down Keen in about 2 to 3 hits. Flame going to be the next victim as Acadian picks up the double. Going to chase the rest of them down. There's only one Nexus turret left. Good luck defending 2v5. As Turtle also got picked off by Power of Evil. Hit him with the gameplay there on the Unleashed Power, and Zig's just going to ult them back into their fountain. OpTic, who are going to claim their first victory of the NALCS season in style. They picked and played their way, and boy did it work out, smashing FlyQuest in this game.
After that mid-game skirmish, this game was complete OpTic control, and we did get to see some good burst damage on display, which has fallen a little bit out of favor. Kha'Zix and Syndra both finding a lot of kills in those picks, and OpTic able to put a win up on the board.
You can see players very happy. Arrow had a big grin on his face as the game ended. Manager, of course, will remain rushing up to the stage with the biggest of smiles and the enthusiasm we've come to know him for over in Europe. OpTic on the board, finally. Has to be a big sigh of relief. You always worry about kind of the mental block of, if we have these close games, we never find a win, we never close out, but that was a good-looking game. Power of Evil going off on the Syndra. Acadian back to that carry style he was known for as a rookie. Pieces just came together really nicely there for OpTic.
And in the end, most damage done is, of course, Arrow on the Ezreal. Once again, huge poke damage coming out all along. He has definitely been a very strong performer and carry for this squad in the early stages of the season as well.
I mean, Arrow is certainly impressed, like you mentioned, coming off a pretty disappointing summer for him, but just looking a lot better, has been playing well every game so far, and back in on the Ezreal. Finally has kind of the rest of the team also deliver up with him, and OpTic coming together. I mean, again, for all these new teams put together very quickly, playing in these early games, winning has to feel good, and it's nice to see OpTic kind of be like, you know what, we're just going to do it our way. They kind of said they were going to play their style. That was OpTic style, for sure.
Yeah, winning always feels good. Everybody with a smile on their face after that one. How's your preseason going?
Really awful, actually.
I knew after that I shouldn't have, but...
I have a single victory. It was a 50-minute game.
Well, it'll get better.
I know, thank you.
Just keep playing.
I will. I'll try and get
Eventually, you'll win more than one game.
I think for FlyQuest, though, definitely had some avenues to attack there. I mean, Flame, huge advantage in the early teammate game on the Gnar, but it just felt like FlyQuest, a team that had shown a lot of cohesion early, just couldn't put it together.
Yeah. Definitely good news for OpTic, and FlyQuest, I believe that brings them to an even score, though. So they still had a very good start to the season, and they'll go 2-2.
Well, for that, we're going to send it down to Queen Overly, long may she reign, and the OpTic jungler for more on that win.
Thank you, Peasant Pastry. I am here with Acadian. Congratulations on your first win of the season. You guys were off to a little bit of a rough start, but you pulled through, and a lot of your games actually look pretty close. How do you and your team view those losses?
I mean, it's definitely pretty frustrating to play through a bunch of games that go super long and eventually lose at the end. So I think we just talked about it. We talked about how our communication went, how we played the game out, and I don't know, we're just hoping next time we get into a long game, the same things don't happen, so yeah.
You guys have actually had some of the longest games of the season so far. How do you and your team deal with that mentally?
Deal with it mentally? What do you mean?
Like, if it's a super long game, do you guys get mentally exhausted? Does it drag on?
No, it doesn't really drag on that much. I think maybe in the TSM game when the game it was dragging on to like 50, 60 minutes, you know, I was kind of getting PTSD from the 100 Thieves game because it's so sad to lose after, you know, an hour of playing the game. You invest that much and you lose. So, I don't know. We just try to pump each other up, try to make jokes, you know, make it more lighthearted when all you're doing is clearing waves for like 30 minutes. So, yeah.
Now, before, a lot of people were looking at you as like the rookie jungler, and today you played against Onda. Did it feel like you were playing against a rookie?
I think in the current state of the game, a lot of jungling is based more on how your team plays rather than how an individual plays. So it's hard to see individual skill that much. So I think playing versus almost every jungler feels more or less the same, depending on. I mean, some junglers put a little bit more pressure. Some junglers seems like they're not really there, but they're just farming. You know, anything can be fine depending on how your team wants to play. So I think it just felt the same as the other ones that I've played against, probably.
And I want to ask you a little bit of a personal question. I've seen on Twitter you say that you're going to put a pause on some of your blogs or vlogs and maybe streaming. Has the stop of that had a positive effect on you?
I think, yeah, maybe last year I came onto the scene, got into the spotlight really quick, and I think I got too caught up in all all the extra stuff for League. Like there's all this social stuff, all these interviews, everyone like just talking to people, being mainly just being social, like trying to get like, a brand or whatever. But what it really comes down to is how good you are at the game, and that's a realization that I had last year. So this year, my goal was basically just to not focus as much on that stuff and just make sure I'm an expert at the game if I can. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. Congratulations again on your win. And to wrap up this game, let's hear it from the analyst at the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Avli. The Green Wall picking up their first victory of the spring split, moving to 1-3, so they'll be happy about that. But you kind of saw there, even in the interview with the Acadian, that this team does believe they could have won more, and maybe even inklings of frustration that they haven't.
Absolutely. Like, I remember Kobe talking before the game about how difficult it is to lose all of those long games and how it's mentally taxing. And even after they broke through and had a quick finish to what was a close long game, this not really a sense of elation. It's more of a sense of frustration that I was getting out of Acadian there.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of like you saw it coming for a long time. Like, we're going to win a game, but after all those long losses, it starts to feel more of a relief than, like, you know, a jubilation, like, yeah, we're winning.
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand that mentality. And even, like, from a coaching perspective, long, hard losses like that are difficult to chew through in, like, a VOD review perspective. And it's hard to get, like, oh, here are a couple key takeaways. It's like so much happened over that game. And most of the time, people are tilted after losses like that, so you don't go
wait for it.
Yeah, there's like a proper timing that becomes important. Whereas oftentimes, it's like, hey, we won or we lost. Let's go back and maybe look at what we can do better for Sunday.
Yeah, I do want to dive into the game a little bit itself here. We got the Kha'Zix for Acadian, still very much sticking to his roots as more of the aggressive assassin-style jungler. But what jumps out at me is the Maokai that was picked along with it. It kind of felt like it enabled.
Yeah, so I think this is interesting because this is very similar to what OpTic did against TSM yesterday, where they're picking champions that aren't fitting the meta, but probably fit the current state of how the team is playing.
Okay.
So Zig being on Maokai makes a lot of sense because he had been picked into some winning matchups, which he ended up losing. So here they just picked him into a losing matchup and said lose gracefully, and that worked really well, because it enabled Acadian to pay a comfort pick where he could dance around the outside of fights and then still maintain a front line. So that combination ended up paying off in a big way, mainly because of the way the players are playing.
That, as well as the Zac pick getting banned down in the second phase. I like that a lot. We've seen Onda only play Zac and J4 so far, but the Zac was noticeably improved compared to the Jarvan. So give him the Jarvan again, and then as well, with that many mid bans coming in, Power of Evil still having a good game was very impressive.
Well, to your point, second Syndra game here for Power of Evil, the only guy bringing this out. Great performance out of him. A crazy amount of damage when you have double Infernal Drake and Gathering Storm along with Baron buff, blue buff. I mean, he was dealing pretty insane amounts of damage in there, but he's looking fairly decent on that Syndra in this game.
Yeah, and FlyQuest didn't have a great way of dealing with it. I mean, the 2 wins they've had has been Onda on the Zac, and Zac would have been great against Syndra, but here, when Jarvan did jump in, or when Nara did jump in, Lemonation was right there with the Tom Kench, so it actually allowed Power of Evil a lot more freedom than you're used to seeing on a Syndra, and that's, I think, why he was landing so many stuns on people like Stunt, or Wild Turtle, or Keen, who are like backline members. You're wondering how a Syndra gets up that far, but it's because of the Tom Kench.
With that information out there, I want to dive into our only replay here, coming 33-30 into the game. OpTic picking up 3-0 in the mid lane. Watch Acadian and watch Power of Evil.
And these are the two kind of key players, I think, for this team, just in terms of kickstarting the early game. Arrow's great once the game has started. He had a little bit of a slow start again this game, but in the skirmishes, he started playing well. And it is on Acadian and Power of Evil to really find those first couple kills in this fight.
I mean, if you weren't eagle-eyed, you would have missed Acadian's assassination there at the very beginning of that clip, as well as Power of Evil essentially half-healthing Onda on his engage.
Yeah, you see the damage right there at the very end, with Arrow still putting out the majority of the team's damage with 34,500. But I think what's more important to point out is the low damage numbers on FlyQuest, because I think most of their damage dealers were zoned out by the Maokai, who is a higher income tank and tankier champion than we've used to been playing against. It was hard for FlyQuest to adjust to.
Gnar, as a team fighting tank champion, does have that downside of sometimes being not very tanky, and against a Syndra,
being mini Gnar.
Yeah, against burst assassins that Syndra kind of is, and Kha'Zix definitely is. It makes it so that your window of team fighting becomes very, very dangerous if you don't find it at the right time, because you can't go in frontline and Syndra can just aggress forward and you don't want to walk into her.
All right, what is our thoughts on OpTic's performance today, kind of in terms of the context of improving and moving forward? Because yes, they got a win They did do it quicker than, maybe some would have expected, but they don't look happy about it.
Yeah, at the top of the day, we talked about underrated teams. And I actually selected OpTic, the one proper selection I've made so far today, but it was because of how close they had played the previous games, and they were again in that situation where a couple good plays could win them the game, and finally they did it. So I'm happy about that at least.
You had pointed at FlyQuest as your perhaps underrated team, and here they are sustaining a loss to Jat's underrated team. Does this lessen your opinion of FlyQuest? Does it kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good point that Jet had was about how difficult OpTic's schedule has been, and so if they can keep this up, then they start playing teams like CLG and Golden Guardians who have been struggling, they can grab more wins. And I think this was a good game from them, and I think FlyQuest has some things to look at with what happened around the mid lane and the jungle in particular.
All right, well, there you have it. When we return, the Golden Guardians face Counter Logic Gaming on Summoner's Rift. Meet us back here for Game 4 after the break.